The girl beneath the flames. The city of Varesh burned under a pale green sky. Twin moons hovered in silence above the smoke, watching like cold eyes from the heavens. Buildings once carved from crystal now melted into black stone. Alien screams echoed through the empty streets, high-pitched and broken like glass shattering underwater. And through this chaos, a single human walked, his boots crunched over ash and bone. His face was calm, unreadable, but his eyes, a dark, steady brown, carried the weight of something deeper, something dangerous. General Thorne had seen dozens of planets fall. He'd led humans through infernos and ice fields, across galaxies that had forgotten what mercy meant. But something about Varesh felt different. The air was thick not just with heat but with guilt, as if the planet itself knew it had betrayed its children. In his earpiece, a voice crackled. "General Thorne, your orders are clear. No survivors. This species is classified as hostile. Wipe the zone. Return to base." He didn't answer. Instead, he stepped over a collapsed pillar and entered what used to be a temple. The walls were lined with symbols he couldn't read, curved lines glowing faintly with blue energy, like veins pulsing beneath the surface. A low humming sound filled the air, as if the building still had breath left in it. Then he heard it. Not a scream, not a cry, a whisper, a voice, soft, broken, rising from the shadows. "Please, please, don't let me die here." His pulse slowed. Something twisted in his chest. He moved toward the sound, behind a shattered column. Curled, like a child in the rubble, was a girl. Her skin shimmered with a faint violet tone. Blood streaked her forehead. Her robes were burned. But her eyes, they were bright gold, wide with terror, and full of something that stopped him cold. Hope. She looked at him the way no enemy ever had, not with hatred, not with fear, but as if he might still be capable of choosing something else. "You're human," she whispered. Thorne said nothing. His fingers twitched near the rifle at his side. She tried to sit up, but collapsed with a cry. Her legs were crushed beneath debris. His earpiece buzzed again. "General Thorne, respond. Eliminate all targets. Your hesitation is unacceptable." He stared at her, blood dripping from her lips, hands trembling, and still somehow her voice didn't beg for life. It begged for something older, something he hadn't heard in years. Mercy. He could have walked away. The orders were clear. He'd followed worse. But Thorne knelt beside her. And for the first time in decades, he did something no code of war could explain. He disobeyed. "I'm getting you out," he said. And the words felt strange in his mouth, almost foreign. Her breath caught. She looked up at him, stunned, as if no one in her world, or his, had ever said those words before. Then something behind him shifted, a surveillance drone, silent, hovering, recording. He was already branded a traitor, but Thorne didn't care. His hands moved fast. He lifted the debris with a grunt. His shoulders screamed in pain. Metal scraped against bone. Her scream was sharp, but she didn't push him away. She didn't fight, because even she didn't believe it was real. A human, helping her. In the sky above, warships began to gather, their black wings blocking out the stars. Thorne didn't look up. He lifted her gently. She was light, too light. Her ribs pressed against his armor like bird bones. "Why?" she whispered. "Why are you doing this?" He looked down at her, then back at the burning city, and answered with the truth. "Because no one else will." The sky cracked open, with the sound of approaching fire. But on the ground, a human ran with a girl in his arms, while the whole galaxy prepared to crush them both. Hunted by the stars, the forest outside Varesh was silent but not peaceful. Ash still drifted from the sky like gray snow. The trees, tall and strange with glowing bark, leaned away from the city as if afraid to remember it. The sounds of battle had faded behind them, but General Thorne knew that silence didn't mean safety. It only meant the hunt had begun. He moved quickly, carrying the girl in his arms. Her body was shaking, not just from pain but from something deeper, a fear that lived in her bones. She clung to him with fingers that barely had strength, whispering words in her language he didn't understand, but he could feel what she meant. "You shouldn't have done it," she finally said, her voice so faint it nearly disappeared in the wind. Thorne didn't look at her. "Maybe not. They'll come for you now." He nodded. "They already are." Above the treetops, small dark shapes passed across the moons. Hunter drones, fast, silent, and without mercy. Once they locked on, nothing escaped, except maybe him. His boots splashed through a shallow stream, the water glowing faintly around his legs. The girl stirred and looked up at the sky, then at his face. "Why did you stop?" she asked. "Why didn't you kill me like the others?" He slowed near a cluster of moss-covered rocks and gently lowered her into a patch of soft grass. Steam rose from the warmth of her skin. She was burning up. He pulled a ration pack from his belt, tore it open, and handed her a piece. She didn't take it. "You didn't answer," she whispered. Thorne's voice was low. "Because you looked at me like I was still human." Her golden eyes filled with tears. "Your kind calls us weapons," she said. "My people were trained to resist your tech. We fought. We lost. But not all of us chose war. I didn't." He studied her. She was young. Maybe 18 in human years. Her arms bore faint scars like she'd been restrained for a long time. The kind of wounds that didn't come from battle, but from captivity. "What's your name?" he asked. She hesitated. "Lyari," she said softly. Thorne took a breath. "I'm Thorne." "You already knew my people would lose," she said. "So why did you destroy everything?" He didn't answer right away. Instead, he reached for a small device at his belt. A circular lens flickered to life, projecting a holographic map in the air. Red dots blinked, one of them dangerously close. "They're tracking me," he muttered. Lyari sat up slightly, grimacing in pain. "Then leave me here. Run." Thorne looked at her sharply. "No, you'll die." "I've died before," he said. "I just kept walking." His eyes burned with something she couldn't name. He wasn't a hero. He wasn't gentle. His hands were stained with too many lives. But in this moment, he was the only person in the galaxy who had said no to genocide. A sharp noise cracked through the trees, like metal tearing through the air. Thorne dove forward, pushing Lyari down just as a plasma bolt scorched the trunk behind her. The forest lit up with blue fire. Drones. He grabbed her and rolled behind the rocks. The ground shook as a second shot hit. They were surrounded. "Hold on," he growled. Before she could ask, he tapped the side of his boot. A signal flared. Deep under the soil, something rumbled. A second later, the earth exploded. From the dirt rose a sleek, dark pod. His emergency escape unit. Small, fast, barely enough space for two. Not built for comfort, built to survive. He shoved open the hatch. "Get in." Lyari hesitated. "They'll fire at it." "They won't catch us." "How do you know?" He looked back at the sky. "Because I know how they think. And they forgot one thing." "What?" "Humans don't always follow the rules." They climbed inside as more shots rained down around them. Thorne sealed the door, gripped the controls, and launched the pod into the sky. It tore through the trees, cutting a path of smoke and fire. As they sped away from the burning forest, Lyari looked at Thorne, the soldier who had saved her when no one else would. And for the first time since her world ended, she believed there might be more to humanity than war. But far above them, on a massive flagship orbiting the planet, a voice echoed through cold metal halls. "General Thorne is a traitor. Authorization granted for extermination. Bring back the girl alive." The order to break him. The escape pod punched through the upper atmosphere like a bullet. Flame danced across its hull as the pressure pushed in from all sides. Thorne sat motionless, his fingers wrapped tight around the controls, his eyes fixed on the stars ahead. Beside him, Lyari struggled to breathe. The G-forces were heavy, her body still weak. The pod finally broke free into the cold silence of space. Above them stretched an ocean of black scattered with distant suns and the slow, drifting bones of ancient warships. Here, in the void, there was no sound. Only the steady beep of warning lights and the tension between two lives running from something far larger than either of them. Thorne set a course toward the outer edge of the Neckar Belt, a stretch of unclaimed asteroid fields known for hiding those who didn't want to be found. He didn't speak. Not for minutes. Not until the ship was cloaked and their signal masked by the surrounding debris. Then, finally, he turned to Lyari. "You're lucky," he said flatly. "If this had been a military-grade drone chase, we'd be dead." She tried to smile, but her face was pale and slick with sweat. "That wasn't luck," she whispered. "You're not like them." He didn't answer. Instead, he opened the emergency med kit and began injecting a blue serum into her side, a blend of nanotech and anti-shock compounds. Her body flinched, then relaxed. "This will hold you for a while," he said, "but you need real treatment." "Where will we go?" "Somewhere they won't expect, somewhere forgotten." Lyari looked at him. "You mean Earth?" Thorne's expression darkened. "No, Earth would be suicide. They'd expect that." "Then where?" He stared out the cracked viewing window at the stars. "A place where the war never mattered, where people still look you in the eye before pulling a trigger. If they do." Meanwhile, aboard the human flagship Spear of Judgment, Commander Arlen paced across the command deck. His boots echoed against polished steel. Holograms flickered before him, each one showing live satellite feeds of the galaxy, tracking Thorne's last known trajectory. A younger officer approached. "Sir, the traitor has gone dark. We lost his signal near the Neckar Belt." Arlen's jaw clenched. "Send the Blacklight unit." "But, sir, they're still unauthorized in that zone." "I said send them." The officer hesitated. "And the girl?" Arlen narrowed his eyes. "She is the key. She was never supposed to survive. If she's still alive, Thorne knows something. And if he knows, then others will too." Back in the pod, Lyari stirred. "What did they do to you?" she asked softly. Thorne didn't look at her. "What do you mean?" "Before you saved me, you looked like a man who didn't believe in anything." He stayed silent. But something changed. He finally spoke. "You remind me of someone, long ago, on another world we destroyed. She didn't beg either, just looked at me, like she couldn't understand why humans would burn her village. What happened to her?" He shook his head. "I don't know. I followed orders." He paused. "I never forgot her face." A deep silence filled the pod. Then the warning system blinked. Incoming signal. Encrypted. Military grade. Thorne's blood went cold. He activated the comm link. A voice played through, calm and cold. "General Thorne, this is Commander Arlen. You are ordered to surrender immediately. Return the girl. You will not be harmed." Thorne muted the channel, sat back, stared at nothing. Lyari whispered, "Will they kill me?" He didn't answer. Because they wouldn't just kill her. They'd study her, dismantle her, extract the strange power in her blood, the same energy that once lit the temples of Varesh. The same energy that might now be the reason Thorne had been ordered to end them all, but she was still alive, and she had said his name like it meant something. "We don't surrender," Thorne finally said. "Not to men like Arlen." She leaned her head against the metal wall, eyes fluttering shut. "Then where do we go?" He reached over her and pressed a hidden code into the control panel. A part of the screen peeled away, revealing a new map. Hand-drawn coordinates, deep beyond any military chart. "To someone who owes me a favor," he said. "An old friend. And maybe the only person in the galaxy who might still believe in mercy." Then, quietly, he added almost to himself, "And if not, we fight." The pod turned slowly, slipping deeper into the belt. Unseen by Thorne, a tiny black probe detached from a distant rock and followed silently after them, sending every movement back to the fleet. The man who never forgave the pod drifted into a pocket of shadow between tumbling asteroids. Thorne kept the engines cold and the signal dampeners active. No light escaped the hull. Around them, chunks of rock spun silently in the void. Some, the size of fists, others larger than cities. The Nakar belt was dangerous even without a price on your head. But it was the kind of danger that hid you from worse things. Lyari stirred beside him. The serum was wearing off. Her breathing was shallow again. Her skin glowed faintly, a soft violet shimmer pulsing beneath her veins. She wasn't just hurt. She was changing. "We need to move soon," Thorne said, scanning the map. "This sector doesn't stay quiet for long." Lyari opened her eyes. "You said you were going to find someone who believes in mercy." He nodded. "A long time ago I served beside a man named Soren Vale, back when Earth still believed we could make peace instead of firestorms. Soren was different. He didn't fight to win, he fought to protect." "What happened to him?"
"He saw something on Thalos Prime, something that broke him. The day after the purge, he disappeared, dropped off the grid. Rumors said he built a sanctuary for those who escaped war." "And you think he'll help us?" Thorne looked at her.
"I don't know. Last time we saw each other, I betrayed his trust, and he told me if I ever showed my face again, he'd put a bullet between my eyes." Lyari stared at him. "Then why go?" "Because he's still the only man in this galaxy who might choose kindness over control. The sanctuary wasn't marked on any map. It drifted inside a dead moon near the edge of the belt. A hidden entrance carved into ice. No beacons. No code signals." But Thorne knew the pattern. 3 slow pulses followed by 1 sharp burst. The same rhythm they used during stealth ops, back when they still believed in brotherhood. He sent the signal. Nothing answered. He waited. Then, finally, the moon's surface shifted, a slit opened. Black and silent, the pod entered. They passed through darkness deeper and deeper until the chamber revealed itself. A hollowed-out core of stone and ice, filled with scattered lights and hidden machinery. Old ships hung from the ceiling like bones in a cave. Strange vines curled around vents glowing with biolight. It wasn't a military base, it was something older, something almost sacred. The pod landed. Thorne lifted Lyari and stepped into the cold, his boots echoing against the metal floor. He could feel eyes watching. And then he heard the voice. "You brought the war to my doorstep, Thorne. I should kill you where you stand." Soren Vale stepped from the shadows. He looked older. His beard was streaked with silver. One eye was hidden beneath a mechanical implant, the other still sharp as ever. He wore no uniform, only a thick black coat and the kind of silence that made people feel small. Thorne didn't flinch. "She needs help," he said. Soren looked at Lyari. His eye narrowed. "She's not human." "No. But she's alive. And she asked for mercy." Soren walked forward, slow and heavy. "And since when do you care about mercy?" "Since the day I saw what we really are," Thorne said. "And hated it." They stood face to face. Silence stretched between them. Finally, Soren said, "Put her on the table." Hours passed. Soren worked in silence, scanning Lyari's body with alien tech stitched into human frames. Thorne sat nearby, watching every move. Lyari drifted in and out of sleep, her face pale, her body trembling. Soren didn't speak again until he was done. "Her energy signature isn't just genetic," he said. "It's artificial, fused into her, like someone tried to turn her into a weapon, but failed. Then why do they want her so badly? Because she survived. And because her kind shouldn't be able to hold this much power, they'll want to study it, duplicate it, and if they can't, they'll erase her." Lyari opened her eyes slowly. "I heard you," she whispered. "I'm not a weapon." Soren looked at her. "No, but they will never stop hunting you. And Thorne, now that you've saved her, they'll never stop hunting you either." "Then help us," Thorne said. Soren stared at him. "I told you, if you ever came back, I'd kill. You did. So why did you come?" Thorne's voice cracked for the first time. Because I'm tired of pretending I'm not broken. That silence again. Longer. Colder. Soren looked at Lyari, then back at Thorne. There's a place, he said. Deep in the forgotten zones. No comms, no satellites. Old tech. If you can get her there, she might be safe. For a while. And you? Soren's voice dropped. I stay. I've got ghosts to answer to. They'll come here looking for me. Let them. I've been waiting to settle that score. He handed Thorne a chip. Coordinates. Supplies are in Bay 6. Leave before dawn. And Thorne? Yeah? If she dies, then maybe all of this was for nothing. Thorne nodded, then turned to Lyari, who watched them both with silent, glowing eyes. He didn't know it yet, but her power was already changing, not just her body, but the space around her. The signal that should not exist. The sanctuary was still when they left, but not silent. Behind them, the massive doors of the moon's core slid shut, burying Soren Vale once more in his solitude. Thorne didn't look back, not because he didn't care, but because he knew Soren would never leave that place again. They boarded a transport ship hidden beneath layers of rock and ancient camouflage. It was old, not military standard, with scratched panels, mismatched wiring, and a patched hull that hummed like a tired animal. But it would fly, and it would hide. They launched quietly, riding the debris fields like shadows through broken light. Lyari sat near the front, bundled in an old coat, her golden eyes flicking between navigation panels. The color had returned to her cheeks, and the trembling had stopped. But something new had begun, something neither of them spoke of yet. Her skin glowed slightly in low light, not brightly, just enough to unsettle Thorne. He didn't say anything, but he saw it, the shift, the way her breath misted even in warmth, the way her pulse echoed faintly through the cabin like soft sonar, and the way the ship's readings distorted whenever she got too close to the comms panel. We're headed to the Forgotten Zones, Thorne said. No one patrols that far, no charts, no wars, just dust and silence. Lyari nodded. And what happens after? We disappear. She stared out at the stars. You still don't trust me, do you? Thorne didn't answer right away. It's not that, he finally said. It's what's happening to you. Whatever they did to you back on Varesh, where it's still growing. I feel it too, she whispered. In my chest, like something waking up. He turned to her. You need to tell me the truth now, before it's too late. Lyari looked down at her hands. They were glowing faintly again, threads of light moving beneath her skin. The elders used to say that the heart of our people wasn't just emotion, she said. It was energy. We were connected to the planet itself. When they came, your people, they tried to cut us off from it. They took me into a lab. They tried to isolate the source. Did they succeed? Her voice trembled. They fused it to me, forced it to live in me alone. So you're the last? No, she said softly. I'm something else now. Thorne leaned back. We're running out of places to hide. As if the universe was listening, the ship suddenly jolted. Alarms blinked red. He sprang to the controls. External wave detected, but that's impossible. We're cloaked. Lyari rushed beside him. And then they saw it. On the screen, a ripple, a pulse of blue energy rolling through space like a shock wave. No origin, no warning, just there, and following the ripple, ships. Black, silent, not from any known fleet. They moved in unnatural formations, curving like fish through water, warping the light behind them. Lyari grabbed Thorne's arm. I've seen them before, she said, her voice shaking. Where? In dreams, or memories. I don't know, but they were watching Varesh before the war even started, not human. Not like my people either, something older. The ship's panels sparked. Systems started to fail one by one. We're being scanned, Thorne said. They're trying to break through our walls. He activated the emergency drive. A countdown started. 30 seconds. What do they want? He asked. Lyari touched her chest where the energy glowed beneath her ribs. Me. The ship rocked again. 20 seconds. Outside, the stars dimmed. Space itself began to bend, as if they were entering a dream stitched together by broken time. Lyari looked up. They were never after war, she whispered. They were waiting for me to wake up. 10 seconds. Her eyes flashed gold, and then the ship vanished in a burst, a folded light. They dropped out of hyperspace in silence. The stars were wrong, scattered, unfamiliar. They weren't in the forgotten zones, they weren't on any map. Thorne's hand shook as he checked the controls. This isn't the destination, he muttered. This isn't anywhere. Lyari sat upright. Her skin no longer shimmered, it glowed steadily now. They moved us, she said. Who? The ones watching. She walked to the viewport, placed her hand against the glass. Outside, a shape moved through the dark. Massive, like a cathedral built into the bones of a dying star, and carved into its surface. A symbol from Varesh. Older than either of them understood, Thorne whispered, "What is this place?" Lyari turned to him, voice steady. It's where it all began. And somewhere deep in that impossible ship, a door began to open. The ship that remembered her name. The air inside the ancient vessel was warm. Too warm. As the hatch sealed behind them, Thorne reached instinctively for his rifle. But there was no threat. No guards, no movement. Only silence. The walls glowed, with a soft silver light like moonlight trapped beneath glass. Strange symbols pulsed along the surface. Not carved, not painted, but alive. The ship wasn't made of metal. It was grown. Every part of it felt organic. Lyari walked ahead slowly, drawn by something she couldn't explain. Her feet made no sound on the floor. Her breathing was calm now. Too calm. Are you sure about this? Thorne asked. She nodded without turning around. I think it knows me. He followed, his heart pounding harder with every step. The corridor curved and opened into a wide chamber, a dome of light. And in the center of the dome, floating above a circular platform, was something impossible, a sphere of golden energy. Suspended in midair, humming with a rhythm that matched Lyari's breath, she walked toward it. Wait, Thorne said. It could be, but she stepped into the light. The sphere pulsed and the room changed. The walls flickered with images, thousands of them, moving too fast to understand. Cities rising, planets falling, ships drifting through space. Alien, faces crying, human voices screaming, memories, but not just hers, his too. The room was reading them. Then it spoke, a voice, not loud, not sharp, but everywhere. She has returned. Thorne backed up. What is this place? The voice answered. This is the archive, the last breath of a lost race, and the keeper of the source. Lyari trembled. I don't remember this, the voice responded. You were taken before, the awakening. But the source remained inside you. We hid it there. We knew they would come. We knew they would destroy. The humans? Thorne asked. Not only humans, all empires, all those who feared what they could not control. She is, not a weapon, she is the seed. Lyari fell to her knees. I don't understand. What seed? The last link to harmony, the ability to bond energy with life. She is the memory of Varesh, and its rebirth. Thorne stared at her. You're saying she can bring it back? Not, just bring it back. Evolve it. Correct what was broken. The platform around the sphere cracked open. Tendrils of light reached toward Lyari. She stood, unafraid now. What happens if I accept it? She asked. You will become the bridge. Not human, not Vareshian, something new. And if I refuse, then the cycle continues. War. Extinction. Silence. Thorne stepped forward. What happens to her? To her mind? It will remain, but changed. Stronger. No longer afraid. He looked at Lyari. You don't have to do this. She smiled gently. I think I already did. The moment I survived. She stepped into the sphere. The light wrapped around her, lifting her from the ground. She closed her eyes, and it began. Energy surged through the room. Thorne staggered back, shielding his face as the brightness grew. The walls shook. The symbols lit up one by one. Outside the ship, a wave of golden light burst into the stars, rippling outward. Across galaxies, sensors failed. Weapons powered down. Drones lost connection. Ships stopped mid-flight. And on Earth, in a dark control room, Commander Arlen watched. The data collapse. Screens went black. Alarms screamed. Officers scrambled. "What is this?" Someone yelled. "What's happening?" But Arlen already knew. His voice was a whisper. She woke up. Back in the chamber, the light faded. Lyari floated gently to the floor. She looked different now. Not older. Not alien. Just complete. The glow had faded from her skin. But something else remained. A peace Thorne had never seen on any face in his life. "Are you still you?" he asked. She looked at him and nodded. "I am. But now, I remember everything." "What now?" She walked to him, placed a hand on his chest. "Now we go back, not to fight, but to end the fighting. They'll kill us. Not if they feel what I feel." He looked into her golden eyes. For the first time, he saw not just light, but the reflection of his own pain, transformed into purpose. And deep inside the ancient ship, the voice spoke one last time. "Go. The stars are watching." They stepped back into the ship. Not fugitives, not soldiers, but a beginning, and far behind them, Commander Arlen issued a new order. "If the girl is found again, do not engage. Observe only. Because even the strongest empires fear what they do not understand." And she was no longer something to be understood. She was something to be followed. The moment humanity listened, the stars had changed. When Lyari and Thorne returned from the edge of the Forgotten Zone, the galaxy no longer felt the same. Something had shifted, not just in the systems or signals, but in the silence. The wars paused. Fleets stalled mid-orbit, weapons still loaded but unused, as if every commander, every soldier, every watcher was holding their breath, waiting, listening. They didn't arrive in a warship. They didn't come with armies. They came in the same worn transport Thorne had stolen from the sanctuary, patched, scarred, humming like an old song. But this time, it wasn't hiding them. It was carrying something the galaxy had never seen before, hope that could not be weaponized. They approached the human outpost on Elian Ring, a massive circular station orbiting a dead planet. It was a place built for intimidation, its black hull sharp like a blade, always surrounded by drones and watchtowers. But today, its lights flickered nervously, and for the first time in its history, the guns did not fire. "They're letting us in," Thorne said quietly. Lyari sat beside him, calm, silent, watching the world through the window. "Because they're afraid of what will happen if they don't, and if this is a trap." She looked at him with a small, sad smile. "Then they never understood us at all." Commander Arlen stood on the central platform. His officers flanked him. Hundreds of soldiers watched from above, their faces cold and unreadable. The press feeds were silent, their cameras blinking, all waiting. Thorne walked ahead, every step echoing. Behind him, Lyari walked slowly, her hands open, unarmed, glowing softly with that same golden light that now pulsed gently in her veins. She didn't speak, she didn't bow. She simply stood beside Thorne. Arlen's voice was calm but tense. "General Thorne, you're under arrest for treason, disobedience, and aiding a hostile species." Thorne didn't move. "Then arrest me." Arlen's eyes narrowed. "You expect me to believe this creature is peaceful, that she's not a threat?" Lyari stepped forward and spoke softly. "I'm not asking you to believe. I'm asking you to feel." The lights flickered again, and then everything stopped. One by one, across the outpost, weapons powered down. Lights dimmed. Monitors went blank. Drones fell silent, not because of an attack, but because something inside the systems bent quietly to her presence. Not control, connection. Thousands watched as the energy moved gently through her, not burning, not commanding, but healing. A soldier on the me, upper deck dropped his weapon, not in fear, but in awe. "What is this?" Arlen whispered. "The truth," Lyari said. "You were never fighting us. You were afraid of what we carried, the ability to feel what others feel, to connect, to listen. And, what now?" Arlen asked. "What happens to our command, our power?" "Nothing," she said, "unless you let it change." Then she turned to Thorne. "Are you ready?" He looked at her, and for once, he didn't feel like a weapon. He felt human. Yes, what followed wasn't broadcast. Not at first, but it spread. Whispers across colonies. Fragments of footage. Messages of two figures walking through fire without fear. Of cities where soldiers laid down arms. Of alien children singing human songs. Of humans apologizing for what they'd done, not with words but with actions. And slowly change began. Not everywhere. Not perfectly. But enough. Soren's sanctuary became more than a myth. It became a symbol. Viresh was added back to the star charts not as a ruin but as a sacred site. And Thorne, the man once branded a traitor, became something else, not a leader, not a legend. Just someone who had chosen mercy when the world demanded violence. And Lyari? She never took a title, never built a throne. She simply walked, from planet to planet, listening and reminding everyone that what makes someone powerful isn't how many they can destroy, but how many they can choose to save. Because she had begged for mercy once, and only one human had disobeyed to give it. And in doing so, he didn't just save her, he helped save them all.